The sun hung low over the New Mexico plains when Jacob McCall spotted something dark swaying beneath the cottonwood tree. His heart seized. As he rode closer, the horror crystallized into terrible clarity. A young Apache girl, no more than 8 years old, hung by her wrists from a low branch, her toes barely scraping the ground. A crude sign nailed to the tree declared in jagged letters, "White man don't forgive." Jacob's hands trembled as he cut her down. She collapsed into his arms, unconscious, her wrists raw and bleeding. Her breathing was shallow, her lips cracked from thirst. For a moment, he stood frozen. This girl's suffering a mirror reflecting back every terrible thing he'd tried to forget. He carried her to his ranch house. That weathered cabin he'd built 20 years ago with dreams of family and prosperity. Those dreams had died with his wife and son during the Apache raids of '59. The bitterness had eaten him hollow. Turned him into a man who crossed the street when he saw native faces, who voted for every harsh policy, who believed forgiveness was weakness. Now this child lay on his dead son's bed, and something inside him cracked open. For 3 days, she burned with fever. Jacob cooled her forehead with wet cloths, forced water between her lips, and whispered prayers he'd forgotten he knew. On the third night, her eyes fluttered open, dark and deep as canyon shadows. Terror flooded her face. She tried to scramble away, but her weakened body wouldn't obey. "Easy now," Jacob said softly, holding up empty hands. "You're safe here." She didn't understand his words, but perhaps she heard something in his voice because she stopped struggling. He brought her water, then soup, feeding her slowly while she watched him with those ancient, wary eyes. Days became weeks. Jacob learned her name was Ayanna, meaning eternal blossom. She'd been taken during a raid by white vigilantes who'd slaughtered her family. Seeking revenge for a stagecoach attack Ayanna's people had nothing to do with. The men had argued about what to do with her. Some wanted her dead. Others said, leave her as a warning. Cruelty found its compromise in that tree. Jacob taught her English words. She taught him Apache phrases. Slowly, carefully, they built a bridge across the chasm of blood and hatred. She learned to smile again, cautiously at first, then with a child's natural brightness. He learned that healing another's wounds could begin to heal your own. But the world beyond the ranch held long memories and hard hearts. When Jacob brought Ayanna to town for supplies, the whispers started. By evening, a group of men appeared at his gate, led by Tom Brennan, whose brother had died in the raids. That's one of them, Tom spat. "You keeping a savage under your roof, Jacob? After what they done to Mary and little James?" Jacob's jaw tightened. Behind him, he felt Ayanna pressing against his back, trembling. Every old wound screamed at him to step aside, to let old loyalties guide him. But when he closed his eyes, he saw not his son's grave, but Ayanna's face, the morning she'd first laughed. A sound like water in the desert. "This child had nothing to do with our pain," Jacob said quietly, "and our revenge has nothing to do with justice. I've been half dead for 16 years, Tom. She brought me back to life. That makes her family now. You choose her over us?" Tom's hand moved toward his gun. "Choose what Mary would have wanted. What James would have wanted. I choose mercy." The standoff stretched taut. Then Tom's hand dropped. He shook his head. Whether in disgust or understanding, Jacob couldn't tell. The men rode away. Jacob turned to find Ayanna looking up at him with tears streaming down her face. She whispered in careful English, "You are my father now?" He knelt before her, this gift born from tragedy. "Yes, little blossom, I am." And finally, after 16 years of darkness, Jacob McCall began to forgive himself.